sometimes. Because I'm up here and I'm very blessed, but I think the story of the tree that's so important is the tree is about we. A tree has roots. A tree has limbs. A tree is about growing. You don't grow by yourself. You don't have roots alone. You don't water yourself, you know. And at the same time, you provide shade for other people. A tree is so elaborate. And a lot of times people will say to me, like, you know, what's the answer? You know, why, or why? What's the answer, and so on. And I'm always like, hey, there's only two answers. It's right here and it's out there. Like, that's it. It's here and it's there. And you got to dig deep, and you got to go wide. And that's why I want to say it's about a me, a tree, and a company. And the company, it kind of goes back to the same thing. Like, you have to have a purpose. Like, I really believe that. And I know later today I'm going to speak to some entrepreneurs about things like this. But, you know, this is where I might get a little edgy, make people feel a little uncomfortable. But it's my duty to talk about this, is that the world is filled with so many lies and so much false information and so much product consumption and so much, and the chains and the way that people are fed this information now is so intense. And then you just go back to it, and I know, Roger, you've heard me say it now, I've gone ballistic on it. I'm like, it's all about the analog movement. It's all about the analog movement. Back to paper, back to touching things and walking on your speech and skating in the park. And you notice the kids are like, dude, I want to turn my phone off. Like, people are bugging me. And like, people are into vinyl and tape and tapes and back to like the grit, right? And to me, that's a company, right? When you build a company, you build it with your own two hands. You build it with your heart. You build it with passion. And I believe this, honestly. I really hope this happens. That, you know, getting a little skate on everybody, but all the posers are out, right? Because every company, everything should be done for a reason, with purpose and heart. And anything that isn't is not true. And everything we do, not to get into this like lecture of how everyone should live their life, but if people say, you know, how did you get here? So it's me, tree, and a company. It really wasn't that hard. It was a lot of hard work. Many, many hours sleeping on a couch, pulling all-nighters. But you know what? The boring part of my business is actually the money, the success, the stories of like now. Like, I like the story that I just told you guys. I like the story about tomorrow. I like the story about where we're about to go and more things we're going to do to break down the walls and change what happened this morning at the detention center. And to me, it's critical that a company has purpose, right? And I thought, you know, I'm going to do it because when I was talking to Jamie about this, I was like, well, what a coincidence. Me, tree, a company, and Boise, that's four elements. Wind, water, fire, earth. Like, wind, you are a baby. You don't know who you are. You're transparent. You can be developed. You're not one yet. And then you're like water, the tree. It's watering the tree. It's providing the nourishment to grow. And the fact that you start finding your path, these rivers, they cut through things and they find their place because they're shaping who you are and where you go, and you're learning. And then the company is like the fire. Like, you know, there's a lot of people that talk about a company or talk about wanting to do something or be something. Talk is okay because that's the river of ideas, the flowing of ideas. But the company, like starting that business or starting that nonprofit or dropping in on a ramp for your first time, that's the fire. That's the action. That's like hardcore. Like when you go into fire, that's like the danger zone. It's hardcore stuff, man. You're like, you know what, here's the line, here's all these ideas, here's the me, the wind, the water. I've learned all these things. I was a baby, and now I'm learning where I want to go and what I want to be, and I'm following this path, and this is great, but now I am about to do this shit. I'm going to do it. And you do it. And that takes passion. And that's the company. And so get in the spirit of sticking to the theme, wind, water, fire, earth, Boise. I'm going to talk a little bit about Boise. Boise, Idaho and Boise, is earth to me. You hear me talk about living all over the world and traveling and so on, and nature and skateboarding, and the community saved my life. And there's a lot of people in this room I would love to give credit to. But what happened that's I could probably get choked up on this one. I'm with my wife, and we are invited to a wedding. And we had really been looking to change our lives a bit. And we are living in Southern California, which is a beautiful place. I don't want to say anything negative. I'll let you guys go through like 2 or 3 episodes of 9010210 and Orange County Housewives, and then you can come to your own conclusions. But so we needed a break, and we're looking around, we need some change. And we were sort of exploring the earth, really the globe, to be honest with you. And after all this, to tell you the truth, we were a little disappointed about where the world was going. And wow, this is viral. There's not a lot of places that are special anymore. And we get invited to this wedding by Amy Purdy, and there's a whole backstory about Amy that's beautiful, but we're invited to a close friend's wedding. We're really like, gosh, we're so busy. Idaho, really? We're going to go to Idaho? Okay, it'll be fun. And Amy had always been saying, we would love Idaho, and you have no idea. And we'd known Amy for 10 years at this point, and her family lives here, of course. So we get off the plane. It's late at night, and we were walking down the runway, or the little airport, which I also love. Flying to London and all these other crazy places in New York, JFK, LA. I walk into the Boise airport, I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And we have that, what is it called, pre-check? Which you don't need. It's pre-check. I'm looking at I'm in pre-check, and it's moving faster over there. So we're walking through, and it's welcome to the city of trees. And I'm like, Corey, it's pitch black out. We don't know we're in the city. I'm like, that is super weird. I'm even like, hey, take a picture of me in front of the city of trees. I'm like, that's really funny, city trees. And so we haven't seen the city of trees yet. It's dark. And I don't know the actual order of events, but this is more important because it just tells you about the magic of Boise, Idaho, is that I'm downtown dressed just like this, right? I'm known for a uniform. So next time you meet me, you'll be like, does he wear the same clothes twice? Yes. So maybe Blake should tell the story better, because this is how I take the story. I'm lost in downtown Boise. I decided to go on a bike ride. Corey's back at the room watching a movie or something, and I'm like, I'm just going to go explore on my bike. It's late. I'm just going to go out. I like to hike and bike ride and things like that. So I just go on a bike ride. Don't have lights. Don't know there's a law about lights on bikes. and leave it to the studious authority in the Boise area. Officer Blake Slater pulls me over on my bike and says, excuse me, can I help you? Are you lost? I'm like, actually, I am completely lost. And I'm over by the skate park with the what's going on over there, and I'm like, yeah, I'm lost, and I need to get me out of here. Where do I go? And Blake and I start talking further, and I share with him somehow. I share what I do, and Blake takes me over to the skate park, and I'm like flabbergasted. I just see this 2-block square radius with a fence up and all this construction in the middle of the night in the freezing cold, and I see the diagram or the architect's plan of the park, and I'm like, this is what in the world? Here? I can't even believe this. So I go back, Blake and I exchange numbers. He's a gentleman. He actually gives me a tour of Boise on his bike, and friendliest guy in the world, Officer Blake Slater. I don't even know how to call him Blake. I refuse to call him Blake. And so that leads to waking up in the morning, and I'm like, oh my, look at this place. I already was sold. Like I told Corey in the room, like, we're moving here. This is insane. Like, look at this skate park. Can you imagine? It's in the city of trees. I haven't even seen a tree yet. And then we go to this beautiful wedding, and where exactly was the wedding? It was Hidden Springs, yeah. So we go to this wedding in Hidden Springs, and it's absolutely gorgeous, and all the hustle, and we, like, within 48 hours, we're just like, wow. So then I get the harebrained idea of, like, we could do something here. Like, this could be interesting. And we start, I just start exploring. And then I meet up with Lori and the Boise Skateboard Association. And these people are, like, extremely generous and kind. And I think I sort of overwhelm them with, like, my entrepreneurial sort of madness of, like, this, do you know what you have? And of course, they're like, well, of course we know what you have. We've been working on it for 10 years. Will you please, Mr. LA, like, what are you doing? No, they were so kind. And that became really special because the emails are going back and forth with the local shops. And I'm like, wow, these guys are friends. Like, there's not this big war between the shops, and they're super friendly. And the Boise Skateboard Association is, like, inviting us in and really excited. And it goes from there. And then we find this beautiful space right by roads, and we have this vision of what could happen with the community. And then I want to make sure I talk a little bit about, I meet up with the Albertson's family, and Roger and Lori, and everyone is just so incredibly welcoming. And I'm like, is this a city? Like, I feel like I'm in Mayberry right now. Like, this is insane. Like, it just one thing after the next, these chain of events. And then we get the space, and my company thinks I'm mad, right? They're just like, what in the world? Boise, like, what are you talking about? But I'm showing them and sharing them photographs and video footage and so on. And we did a 5-year corporate strategy planning meeting with all the executives. We come out here. I fly them all out. We stay at local hotels and venues and so on. And they're just like, whoa, we're moving here. Like, everyone's just tripping out, like, moving there, like, professionally, they think. And I'm like, easy. And they're also, like, personally, everyone just starts falling in love because they see what we're talking about. Well, first I want to share one story. I don't want to forget this. This morning, I went and spoke at a juvenile delinquent home. How would you say? Detention center, yeah. I spoke at a juvenile detention center. And again, it's something I feel like it's my duty. It's something that if you're doing something like in the video you guys saw, and you're making a difference in kids' worlds, it's part of your responsibility to go out and not just sell product and do things of that nature. It's also about speaking to the kids. But I thought what was interesting today that really blew my mind, and it wasn't planned at all, is that the kids were coming in the room, and one of the gentlemen who actually took me out, I said, I just need a minute to, like, is there any place quiet I can go to just breathe a little bit before I speak? And the gentleman, without realizing it, made me really nervous. It was a total accident. But he was like, hey, just so you know, because I was like, who am I going to be talking to? Like, what level of situations is going to be happening in this audience? And this guy rattled through, like, why some of these kids were there, and it was insane. Like, I was like, whoa, like, this is really heavy stuff. And what it made me realize that I wanted to share with you guys is when I finished speaking, and there was a situation that took place where the place went on lockdown, but it was fine. It was actually fine. But the more of the point is that it makes you realize how important what we do is, and why I'm up here talking to you, but more importantly, talking to those kids this morning, because it was really, you realize why this is happening. Because sometimes you need a little gut check, a little, something to happen in your life. And, we've been on this hustle opening this space and the Boise thing, and it's been really insane. But at the same time, this morning I was like, oh, okay, this is why we're here. This is why this is happening. This is what it's about. Because these kids shouldn't be here. How do we keep them from going there? Because I was almost one of those kids, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about. So I wanted to share that with you. I wasn't planning on saying that, but I wasn't planning on this morning being as entertaining / insane and informational and educational.